Hello, my name is Debra Wallace, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Illinois. My positive reframe for today is on crying. And simply put, I like to say that crying often signals that our heart is being touched, which can be positive or negative. Either way, it means our heart is being touched. It often means that we have an unmet need and that we are experiencing a range of emotions. And when you think back to when we were born, crying is absolutely our only way to get our caregivers' attention. It's biologically wired in us to cry, to signal distress, to signal that we need help, support, and need something. And it is unfortunate that in our society that crying has such a negative stigma, since it's our most natural, healthy way to process emotions, especially especially the negative ones. But again, crying doesn't always mean something negative is. It's just often a lot, too much, too fast, too soon, and we need help. We need support, and I think there's a lot of stigma that crying shows that you're weak. And this is even harder or put more on men, but it's definitely all over. Women experience it, or females tend to have it the other way, but there is a general overwhelming belief that crying is a sign of weakness and that men are definitely not supposed to show crying, and which is a really extreme disservice because crying is so natural. So if you can imagine the amount of energy that a person must exert to suppress crying is immense. And the sad thing is mad is sad's bodyguard. So if we're not allowed to cry and we suppress that, that is going to build and come out in more negative, especially aggressive, violent ways. And this is where it's interesting that, yes, we make men often, I'm not saying everyone does, but there's a stigma for men crying, that then they're kind of forced to express anger. And even though anger is more hurtful for many, anger is not all bad either. All emotions have value. Yet when it's built up in this secondary, when anger is a secondary emotion, as I mentioned, anger, mad is sad's bodyguard, we end up hurting others in that state. So it's extremely unfortunate all the way around, not promoting and allowing crying. And then women tend to, again, females tend to, even if they are accepted to cry, it's almost like we accept it only to a limit. It's very conditional when our society will allow or believe crying is okay. And it's very common for people to project themselves onto what's okay and what's enough. And so typically for being a female, there's this tendency of feeling it's too much, you're emotional, you're overreactive, get it together, it's not it's not professional. Whereas let me tell you, I'd much prefer someone who obviously there's always a continuum, so there are toxic ways to use. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I'd rather someone feeling their heart and knowing that they're being touched and the humanity that tears brings. I prefer someone who does cry than someone who's holding it in. And again, it's just not natural. Crying literally is our most natural, healthiest way to process emotions, process sadness, process grief, process things that we just don't have words for. That's why crying is really a sacred gift. And I hope that more and more start to look at crying. And then if you're noticing often when someone else is crying, we want to quickly ease, because we do know that that's a sign of discomfort. So we typically react in different ways, but a lot of times if we're feeling empathy and we care about the person, we want to fix it. We want to stop them from crying. which crying has a process. It's a natural, all emotions. It's got to run its course for it to actually work its magic and achieve integration in a healthy way. And often we try to quick stunt that. We interrupt and try to stop that and fix the person because we're uncomfortable. It's hard for us to manage their emotions, so we want to step in. And then the other way I typically see, especially people taking care of children or in intimate relationships, when you see someone crying and you get angry. Like, what the heck are you crying about? That's another huge reaction. And again, you just want to stop it, which isn't going to serve anybody or help anybody in the long run. Now, again, everything is on a continuum. There are situations, but what I found that allowing someone, giving someone permission and space to cry without adding our reaction or trying to stop them, and just being present with them, that they actually end up moving through it much more quickly and easily. And it really is a precious gift. And thank you for listening. Take wonderful care.